All I ask for is honesty. I was driving down I-225 when my life changed. Actually, it would be more accurate to say, when my life went to hell. I had just driven my wife to work. She had taken her car to the car dealership the day before for maintenance and was going to pick it up that afternoon during her lunch break. I was just turning onto I-25 when my cell phone rang. I opened it and the cell phone kept ringing, and I suddenly realized it wasn't my phone ringing. I looked over and saw Candy's cell phone lying on the passenger seat next to the passenger door. There was no way I was going to reach over and pick up the phone while I was trying to get into rush hour traffic, so it rang a few more times and then stopped. Once I got onto I-25 and blended in with the moving traffic, I reached out, picked up her phone, and opened it. A message appeared on the screen. "You have one new voicemail message." I started to close my phone, but then I thought it might be something important, and maybe I should listen to it and then call Candy at work and let her know what the message was. I pressed the call button and put the phone to my ear. "You have one unheard message. First unheard message. Hey, honey, it's me. I'm in room 114 at the Best Western on the Boulevard. I'm supposed to be done at 3 Etzwao and be in the room by 4 Zwao. In case you don't get this message for some reason, I'll call your office around 10. Take care, Candy, and know that I'm looking forward to the day." End of message. To delete this message, press 7. Until he said, "Take care, Candy," I thought the message had a wrong number, but as soon as he said Candy, I realized that my comfortable life had just come to an end. There was a sort of denial in me when I thought that maybe there was a small chance that there was another Candy somewhere who had a cell phone number close to my wife's. That would be what? 10 million to 1 odds? I closed Candy's cell phone and tossed it back on the seat. I drove the rest of the way on autopilot because my mind was definitely not on driving. When I parked in the parking lot at work, I got out, moved to the passenger seat, took Candy's phone and put it on the floor between the seat and the door in case Candy came looking for it after the mysterious man called at 10 o'clock. What I really wanted to do was throw the damn thing on the ground and stomp it to pieces. The modern version of killing the messenger who brought bad news. I slammed the door shut and got to work. I'd met Candy at a party thrown by the band members I was helping. Andy worked with me, and he and a few friends had a garage band. I had never heard them play and had no idea if they were good or not. I spent a lot of time at a local bar and knew the owner pretty well. The bar had a fairly large dance floor, and on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, Harry's had a live band. One day I was sitting at the bar sipping a beer and trying for the millionth time to get Karen, the bartender, to talk when I saw Harry coming out of the back room with a scowl on his face. "What's up, Harry? You look like your dog died." Worse than that. The band I put together for this weekend called and canceled because their drummer and lead guitarist were in a car accident and are in the hospital. I've spent the last 2 hours trying to find a replacement, but there just aren't any. All of them are already booked for this weekend. How desperate are you? Right now, I'd settle for 3 monkeys hitting tambourines. Maybe I can help. Give me a quarter. Harry told Karen to give me a quarter from the cash register, so I took it to the payphone and called Andy. He came over and talked to Harry, and that weekend the Uncalled For made their public debut. It turned out they were pretty damn decent, and Harry signed them as his house band for the next 3 months. I never had to buy another drink when I was at the bar. The band started calling me their manager, even thinking that I never did anything for them except introduce Harry and Andy. Anyway, one Sunday the band threw a party to celebrate their transition into the big time, and I was invited. I was standing leaning against the wall, sipping a beer and watching Andy's girlfriend trying to fall out of her bikini when someone's voice spoke up. "I hear you're the one responsible for this party." I turned left and saw an absolutely stunning woman, 105 centimeters or so tall, brown hair, brown eyes, and a body made for arousal. She held out her hand and said, "Candy Witchak, and who are you?" "Rob Dalman," I said, taking her outstretched hand and shaking it. "Well, is it true we have you to thank for this party?" "I don't think so." I made a phone call and connected two people, and it wasn't even my quarter. Well, everybody in the band gives you credit for that. You know everybody in the band? The drummer's my cousin. I noticed she had no rings on her left hand, and I was just on the verge of starting the dance that would lead to me asking her to have dinner with me one night when two women came up to her and dragged her away. Every time I saw her during the rest of the party, she was always with the group, and I never had another opportunity to talk to her. 2 weeks later, on a Thursday night, I was sitting at the bar trying for the millionth and 10th time to get Karen to talk while Andy's band was playing Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress in the background, and I was having no luck as usual when someone grabbed my arm and started pulling me off my stool. I looked over and saw it was Candy. "Come on," she said. "There's no point in sitting on a bar stool when a girl needs a dance partner." I let her lead me out onto the dance floor. I'm not a very good dancer, but she was great, and just being her partner made me look halfway decent. I was ready to go back to my bar stool when the number was over, but the band started playing Bowie's Suffragette City, and Candy clung to me so I couldn't leave the dance floor. As I danced with Candy, I wondered why she was apparently unaccompanied. She just had to fight off guys with a stick, so there was no reason to believe she would be in a bar alone at a live band concert. As I watched her, I marveled at my recklessness in thinking I could ask her out. She was obviously far, very far out of my league. Time for a little candor. I'm not Brad Pitt. I was at least 5 pounds overweight, had gray strands in my brown hair, and was beginning to show male pattern baldness. I didn't know Candy's age, but I had to be at least 15 years older than her. The song ended, and before I could ask her where she was sitting so I could walk her back to her table, the band played Nights in White Satin, and Candy pulled up next to me and said, "One more, please." I put my arm around her and we began to slow dance. It wasn't a big surprise to me that I got an attraction from just being near her, but it was a surprise to me when I accidentally touched her leg and she braced herself in response so the contact wouldn't break. I looked down at her. I know I mentioned that she had 155 centimeters in her, but I don't believe I mentioned that I had 190 centimeters in me, and saw her looking up at me with a smile on her face. I had no idea what was going on and was confused as hell. What was this sexy young creature doing trying to turn on an old man like me? The song ended and she led me back to where she was sitting. It turned out to be a table where the wives and girlfriends of the band members sat. I held up a chair for her as she sat down and thanked her for dancing. As I started to turn to leave, she asked, "Where are you going?" "Back to the bar." "Oh, no, you're not going." She pointed to the chair next to her and said, "You are part of this group, whether you realize it or not, so you should join us." "But I have—" She pointed to the chair again and said, "So sit down." Another woman at the table said, "You'd better do it. If you don't, she'll just follow you around and harass you until you do." I gave up and sat down next to Candy. I looked around for the waitress to ask her to bring me a drink from the bar, and suddenly she was there with my beer in her hand. "I had a feeling you weren't coming back to the bar," she said. She looked around the table where the 6 women were sitting and said, "You might want something stronger than beer if you plan on hanging out with these girls." "Don't worry about him," Candy said. "It's mine, and I'm not sharing it with anyone." The table exploded with hooting and cries of "Oohs" and "Come on, girl." Tina shifted her gaze from me to Candy and then back to me, shaking her head incredulously, and I myself wonder it again, what the hell was going on. Candy saw the look on my face and said, "We'll talk later," placing her hand on my leg and moving it up to straddle me. Luckily, the tabletop kept the others from seeing this. Otherwise, God only knows how they would have reacted. Candy leaned over and whispered in my ear, "I'll explain when you take me home." Tina brought me another beer, and while I sipped it, I pondered the situation. It was obvious that Candy was taking some kind of action towards me, and frankly, I didn't know how to handle it. I'd had relationships with several women in my life, and 2 ex-wives among them, but just saying that I was involved didn't tell the whole story. I had to work hard to get to the point of involvement with each of them. Lots of dates, phone calls, sending out cards and flowers. It took time and effort, but here, for the only time in my life, I was being courted by a woman and I didn't know what to do. More than that, I didn't know why. I wasn't amazing. In fact, I wasn't. I danced a couple more times with Candy and a couple more times with the other women at the table. One of those women was Andy's girlfriend, Mary. As we were twirling around the dance floor, Mary said, "Candy seems really into you. I've never seen her act so possessive before." Possessive? Toward me? Oh, come on. Are you telling me you haven't seen the looks she's been giving the girls you've been dancing with? That doesn't make any sense. I've only seen her for the second time in my life tonight. Are you serious? Totally. The first time was at a party at your house 2 weeks ago, and even then I only talked to her for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. That was until she pulled me off a bar stool a while ago. I don't know what happened in those 3 or 4 minutes, but it was something. She's been prying Andy for information about you for the past 2 weeks, and the reason she came here with us tonight is because Andy told her you'd probably be here. Walking Mary back to her table, I was even more embarrassed than before. What could I possibly have that would interest a sexy lady who was obviously much younger than me? "Around 10, Candy said. "I've got to get going. I have to get up and go to work tomorrow anyway." She looked at me and asked, "Are you ready to drive me home?" She was gorgeous and sexy, and even though I had no idea what was going on, I wasn't about to say no. As she was fastening her seatbelt, Candy asked, "Do you believe in love at first sight?" I've never really given it much thought. I know for a fact that it's never happened to me, although I think I've experienced lust at first sight a couple times. Why do you ask? Just curious. I wanted to know if I was alone in that. Alone in what? I'm sure you noticed I was a little ahead of the curve when it came to you. I had no idea what to say to that, so I just focused on my driving. You didn't notice? Well, when I saw you at the party, something happened to me. I can't explain it, but I knew I had to meet you. I found out from Andy who you were, and that's when I approached you. I didn't see the ring on your hand, but I couldn't believe that some other woman didn't have a claim on you, so I decided to find out as much about you as I could. I like what I found out, and I decided I wanted you. How's that for directness? You can't be serious. Oh, but I am serious. Now all I have to do is sell you an idea. When we got to her house, she reached over, turned off the ignition, and pulled my keys out of the ignition. "Come on, baby," she said as she got out of the car. "We need to see how good a salesman I am." We spent 3 hours in her bedroom, and to make a long story a little shorter, she did sell me on the idea. We lived together for the next 2 years, and then I finally got it legal. The next 10 years were the happiest of my life. Candy and I had good jobs that we enjoyed, and neither of us were in a hurry to leave it, so we decided we didn't want kids. To save Candy the hassle of birth control pills, I had a vasectomy. Candy and I both excelled in our chosen professions, and she eventually reached the position of regional manager with 17 offices across the state. I rose through the ranks to become vice president of marketing. Both jobs involved travel, Candy's more than mine, but we didn't have to spend too much time apart. Life was good, and then I had to go and listen to the voicemail on Candy's phone. I didn't get much done at work that morning. Most of the time, I sat in my office and stared out the window thinking about various things. Candy was 12 years younger than me. That age difference didn't mean much when I was 32 and Candy was 20, but it meant something when I was 48 and she was 36. I enjoyed my love affair with Candy, and I had a pretty good personal life, but I guess the older I got, the less I thought about it. 2 times a week was good for me, but Candy's sex drive was much stronger than mine, and frankly, I couldn't keep up with her. At times, my ability to stay with her upset her, and a few times it even led to scandals. I'm a realist, and was well aware that as I got even older, the problem would get worse. I am also one of those people who believe that you can make love without love. I prayed that the day would never come when I couldn't do it at all, but I had to accept the fact that Candy would always want more than I could give her. I loved her, and I didn't want to lose her. I don't know if her sex drive could have ever caused her to seek a little extra outside the home, but the possibility existed, and if it ever happened and I found out, our marriage would be over. Candy was well aware of my stance on infidelity. Both of my ex-wives had cheated on me, and they had been kicked out because of it. One night when Candy and I were making love and I couldn't get near her a third time, she started whining about me leaving her, and I told her, "Maybe all you need to do is find a lover to help you." "Oh, yeah, right. Then I could join your other two ex-wives on the sidelines." "Not necessarily." "What are you trying to say?" "My other two wives got kicked to the curb because they were snooping around behind my back. Janet picked up guys in bars and slept with them in the back of parking lots. Mary was sucking up to her boss to get a promotion. They both stabbed me in the back, and it was completely unacceptable to me. I won't live with lies or sycophancy, but that wouldn't be the case here. I would know about it and condone it. You know that I believe that love is a physical need and that it is as essential to good health as eating and drinking, and I am obviously not giving you what you need. I am willing to let you fulfill your needs when you need it, provided you are honest and forthright about it, and provided you follow certain guidelines. I'd be willing to accept that. Guidelines? A few simple rules to follow. Never make love here in our house. Never stay with the same man for more than 30 days. That way there is less likelihood of emotional conflict. I don't want to see or even hear about what you do together. I wouldn't want to know who it is, and I would insist that you never come to my house after a date without showering and brushing your teeth. The only thing I would have to know was that you were going to do it. A phone call letting me know that you were coming home late because you had a date with someone is all I would want. If you have a date with someone for tonight, I'd want you to let me know ahead of time so I can be sure I won't be here to see you get dressed for the date. You're not serious, are you? I am totally serious. I'm clearly not giving you what you need sexually, and that's causing us problems, and I can see those problems getting worse as I get older. I don't want to lose you, so I'm offering you a solution to the problem. There's no way in hell I'm going to do that. No way in hell. That's fine. Just remember that the offer is there in case a situation ever arises that might make you change your mind. All I'm asking for is honesty. I appreciate that you love me enough to offer to let me do something like this, but I can't. I just can't. Honey, you can't go 2 days without trying to get me into the bedroom. I know damn well you must be in pain when you go out of town for a week or two. I know you go to hotel lounges for a drink or two after work. And I know you must get hit on a lot. All I'm saying is that you have full permission if you find someone you think you might want to try it with. Just don't keep it from me. I'll make it even easier. All you have to do is tell me you've decided to take me up on my offer. As far as I know, honestly and directly, no guile or lies. It doesn't matter, Rob. I'm never going to do it. And as far as I knew, until I listened to that voicemail, she didn't. At 10:30, I got a call from Candy. First, she asked me if she'd left her cell phone in the car, and I told her I didn't know, and the last time I saw it, it was on the kitchen table with the charger plugged in. You probably just forgot it. I guess I did. While I'm on the phone with you, I might be a little late tonight. The boss wants everyone to have a quick meeting about expense reports and stuff. So I have to take care of myself as far as dinner is concerned. The fridge is full of leftovers, and there are several frozen dinners in the freezer. I'll try not to be late. I love you, baby. I love you too, sweetheart. At 3:45, I parked in the parking lot across the street from the Best Western. I had a good view of the door to room 114, and I prepared to wait. At 4:25, a man came to the door of room 114, inserted his key into the keyhole, and entered. I recognized him from one of Candy's office Christmas parties. His name was Dave Maxon, and he was the manager of one of the offices in Candy's region. At 5:15, a familiar Chevy Tahoe pulled up to room 114 and parked. Candy got out, walked to the door, and knocked. The door opened, and she stepped inside. I watched the door until 5 minutes to 7 and then drove home. It was 9:05 when Candy got home, and I was in the kitchen drinking a beer and doing the crossword puzzle from the day's paper when she walked in. "Hi, honey," she said and leaned over to kiss me. I turned my head, so instead of her lips, she touched my cheek. She pulled back and said, "What's wrong?" I don't know, Candy. Why don't you tell me?" "What am I supposed to tell you?" "I don't know. What do you think you should tell me?" "How many beers have you had, Rob? You're not making any sense." "I'm waiting for you to tell me something." "I'll tell you something, Rob. What do you want me to tell you?" "A long time ago, you and I had a conversation about our love life. I specifically said no lying and no peeking. Do you remember that little conversation?" She stared at me for a few seconds, and then I saw her eyes harden. "What's the matter, Rob? Are you accusing me of something?" "Is there anything to accuse you of?" "Of course not. You're late because of a meeting your boss set up?" "That's right." "So it wasn't you I saw entering room 114 at the Best Western earlier today? Just a figment of my imagination?" I pulled her cell phone out of my pocket, put it on speakerphone, and pressed the buttons to play her voicemail. First missed message. "Hi, honey, it's me. I'm in room 114 at the Best Western Hotel on the boulevard." The message sounded as Candy stood there with an ashy face. "No lies. I explained it as clearly as I could. You had a wave to do what you wanted, and all I asked for was honesty. Anything else would have been cheating, and you know my stance on cheating." Candy looked at me in silence for a few seconds, and I saw tears appear in her eyes, and she said, "I'm sorry. I just couldn't bring myself to tell you. It would be like me telling you that you're not man enough for me, and I couldn't bear to do that to you." I just looked at her with a stony expression on my face. She sobbed a little and then said, "I'm going to go start packing. That would probably be best," I said, and as she left the room, I sipped my beer and went back to my crossword puzzle. I was writing it in ink, and some of the words were smudged because my tears had fallen on them. The end